All right. I'd like to call to order the workshop. If everyone could find their seats and find their places. Okay. Good afternoon. It's 3:32. I'd like to start our 1:30 workshop for September 5th, 2023. Our new county manager has been on the job 35 days, and we're already 2 hours late for our... I just have to haze him a little bit. He's doing a great job. So with that, Mr. County Manager, please introduce the item for today.
Well, I can guarantee you this one won't last for hours. So thank you, Mr. Chair. This is part of the PDE process for the Cape Coral Bridge. What we're going to do today is present the alternatives that were presented during the public comment component of the PDE. When we come back to the board, we cannot ask the board to approve it. We can only ask for you to concur with the recommendation of the community and of staff. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Price.
All right. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Rob Price with Lee County DOT. Today we are here to provide the board with an update of the project development and environmental study for the Cape Bridge replacement. At the end of this presentation, we will ask the board if you concur with DOT's recommendations for moving the project forward. The agenda should start populating. In this presentation, we will briefly discuss the alternatives that were considered and presented at the recent Alternatives Public Workshop on June 20th. We will also go over our proposed solutions to congestion at the intersection of McGregor Boulevard and College Parkway. We also would like to discuss the pedestrian amenities that the project will have as well. And we'll give you the results of the workshop, including the summary of public comments. At the end, as I said, we'll ask for the board's concurrence on moving the project forward and any questions. So, as you are already aware, the purpose of this project was to replace the westbound span of the Cape Coral Bridge. It's currently at the end of its useful life. And the purpose of the project was to add capacity, also to improve traffic operations, enhance safety for all roadway users, as well as provide multimodal improvements. Here we've summarized the alternatives that were presented to the public at the Alternatives Workshop. On the Cape Bridge side, we have a typical 6-lane section with a 35-mile-per-hour design speed. This will include eliminating the center two-way left turn lane. In its place will be a 38-inch barrier that will prohibit pedestrian crossing of the new roadway. It also will allow us to maximize the width of the shared use paths that will be provided on both sides of the road. This is going to significantly enhance pedestrian safety along the stretch of Cape Coral Parkway, and it's going to provide a connection that doesn't exist today between South Fort Myers and Cape Coral. So whereas today we don't have continuous pedestrian amenities from South Fort Myers to Cape Coral, this project will provide a shared use path on both sides of the road, and we anticipate that to be a very heavily used pathway. On the Fort Myers side, we had 3 alternatives that were looked at. One includes a no-build alternative, and then 2 different alternatives to the actual intersection at Colusa Yacht and Racket that I'll get into more specifically. So on the alternatives on the Fort Myers side, they all revolve around what we're going to do with the intersection of Colusa Yacht and Racket and the landings there on College Parkway. Basically, that intersection causes a major congestion issue that spills back all the way out into McGregor Boulevard as well. If you know, when you're driving from McGregor to go towards Cape Coral, you immediately have to merge into one lane because there's 2 lanes of traffic, and one in each direction. So our goal through this project was to look at how we could improve the traffic flow going towards Cape Coral and coming back. So to do that, we need to close that signal at Colusa Yacht and Racket. So the 2 alternatives that I'm going to present to you show a location for the U-turn so that the folks from Colusa Yacht and Racket can head back towards South Fort Myers without having to go over and pay the toll. In this particular slide, the U-turn is shown, this is alternative 1, the U-turn is shown underneath the new bridge. This is the most cost-effective option, and it also is well, it's the cheapest. It places a U-turn underneath the river. One important fact of this particular alternative is the vehicles that are coming out of Calusa Yacht and Racket do not have to merge over a lane to get to this U-turn movement. They will stay in the right-hand lane. There will be a ramp coming off of the road, whereas alternative 2, which I'll show you now, is mid-block between the end of the bridge, between the bridge, the river, and Calusa Yacht and Racket. And you would have to merge over one lane to get to this U-turn location. This one costs about $10 million more because you see a new bridge is being proposed there where the U-turn is at. The property there in front of Magnolia Point is already county-owned property. We have a retention pond there today. So there's no additional right-of-way needs, but it just costs more money because we'd have to build this bridge. And from a safety perspective, we find alternative 1 to be safer. So on the College Parkway and McGregor intersection, we want to highlight this improvement because it's going to be a massive improvement for this intersection. The main issue here is the eastbound to southbound right turns in the morning and the northbound to westbound left turns in the afternoon. So we were looking at how we could address that issue, and I think the best solution was for us to provide a free-flowing eastbound to southbound right turn lane. In order for us to accomplish that without sufficient right-of-way today, we were looking at, we would either have to impact the landings or we could look across the street on the east side of McGregor Boulevard. There's a need for about 5 feet of right-of-way that would allow us to shift the existing travel lanes over, and we would be able to fit another receiving lane for that eastbound to southbound right. That would cause that movement to be free-flowing, would not go into signal control, so we would basically be taking away a massive drain on the signal timing. And that would be a free-flowing movement from that point forward, and it's going to really improve the intersection. Also, as we talked about, by relocating the signal or eliminating the signal at Calusa Yacht and Racket, the traffic going towards Cape Coral will no longer have to merge down to one lane. So we'll be able to carry 2 lanes of traffic all the way onto the bridge and into Cape Coral. So this slide here summarizes the results of the public workshop. It was a very well-attended public workshop. We had almost 250 citizens at the workshop. We also, website analytics showed that we had nearly 1,400 people visit the Alternatives Project website. We received over 100 comments on the project, and the vast majority of those comments were either neutral to the project or in favor of the improvements. Of concern to the public were issues like safety, access, noise, congestion, multimodal safety, and aesthetics. Of the citizens who provided a recommendation on the alternative, 63% responded supportive of alternative 1. So this slide summarizes the alternatives. This was provided at the public workshop. Again, the purpose of this project was to replace the westbound span, which is at the end of life, while also improving traffic operations, enhancing capacity, and improving safety and addressing the lack of multimodal connections. DOT's recommendation, based on the analysis provided and the public workshop results, is to move forward with alternative 1. PDE study, the consultant also was asked to evaluate the needed pedestrian and bicycle amenities. As we talked about earlier, there will be a 38-inch concrete barrier separator in place of the existing 2-way left turn lane in order to maximize the width of the pathways that we can provide on Cape Coral Parkway. The consultant also considered developments on both sides of the street. And when we looked at the existing pedestrian volume out there and we projected it out to the future, we're looking at about 140 crossings or more a week. So with the median barrier being added, these crossings would be forced to occur either all the way down at the Del Prado intersection, or they'd have to go all the way down to the river and go underneath the new bridge. We do show from our 5-year analysis there was a crash involving a cyclist along this stretch of Cape Coral Parkway that caused incapacitating injuries. So that also brings to light the fact that there's a need for a crossing somewhere along this stretch. So as a result, the consultant's analysis indicates the need for a pedestrian bridge along Cape Coral Parkway, and DOT agrees with this conclusion. So this is just a graphical depiction. We haven't designed the pedestrian bridge. We're just showing a couple locations of where it could possibly go. This is one location. Obviously, there's a billboard there. So we're going to be finalizing, as we go through the design process, where the actual best location for this bridge is. We just wanted to show a couple graphical depictions for the board's use of making a decision as to whether we move forward with. But the consultant recommends we move forward. We agree, and basically what we want to show here is this will give us an opportunity to go start meeting with the city of Cape Coral on the pedestrian bridge. They have expressed a desire for some entry feature into the city of Cape Coral. The bridge would possibly be a really good location. We can discuss that with the city and start working through design and aesthetics of the bridge. Finishing up, we wanted to bring the schedule.
Real quick, can I ask
Yes, sir.
a couple quick questions? Did you look at one more alternative on the pedestrian bridge that would be somewhere more like the midpoint between the bridge and the intersection with Del Prado? Because it does seem like that's a pretty long haul if you're trying to cross the street there.
Yes, we've looked at multiple locations. The property at both of these locations are already publicly owned. The city of Cape Coral owns the park site on the north side. And if we go further to the west, it's all developed. So for us to have the ramps and the ADA amenities, there's just not enough property without actually having to take, the residences that are already there. So ideally, these two locations are the most logical from a right-of-way acquisition standpoint.
I worry that even though you have the barrier in the middle, there still might be some people that would chance it and try and jump it and run across. But, because they may not want to walk all the way down to that. But I understand the logic behind it.
And, we can address that through design as well. We could look at a higher barrier, 3 feet, just over 3 feet, maybe not be high enough. Maybe we want to go higher. We'll be working through with the consultant on the design as we get this thing moving.
Okay. Commissioner Sandelli.
Rob, the difference between alternative 1 and 2 was $10 million, I think.
Yes,
Okay.
Not on the bridge, not on the Ped Bridge.
I guess my question is,
Yes, sir.
is the bridge included in that price, the $10 million?
Yes, it's included in both
Not an
alternatives.
extra? Okay.
Correct.
Great, thank you.
All right. So just to finish up, we wanted to bring the schedule of the PD&E back to show the board where we are currently at. The PD&E process is a 2.5-year process, and we are currently at 1 year and 4 months of the process. The public hearing process will follow with another stakeholder meeting, and then we will enter the PD&E and NEPA documentation review that will include a public hearing sometime next spring, with hopes to bring it back to the board around this time next year for final approval. The consultant is already starting to gear up to work on the 30% design plans based on the results of this meeting. So those efforts will be running in parallel as we move forward. Based on the minor differences in the environmental impacts, the differences in project costs, and the larger amount of public support, it is recommended that build alternative number 1 be advanced for further analysis. The no-build alternative will remain a viable alternative throughout the duration of the study. The original analysis will be presented at a public hearing tentatively scheduled for the spring of 2024. The project team respectfully requests that the Lee County Board of County Commissioners endorse the team's recommendation of alternative 1 to advance the Cape Coral Bridge project study. We also ask for concurrence on your recommendation to include the pedestrian overpass. With that, we'll open the floor for discussion from the board and any questions that you may have.
All right, commissioners, any comments? Yeah, Commissioner Simpson, yeah.
Rob, have we had any more discussions from the landings or Calusa Yacht Racket Club since all the proposals been presented to the community? I mean, I know next year we have more discussion, but from the original meetings, have we had any other comments?
So we received a lot of comments from the Calusa Yacht and Racket folks and the landings, mostly regarding safety and regarding their ability to make the right turn out of their communities without the traffic signal. We've had our consultant do extensive further analysis of the traffic flow, and we find there's going to be plenty of gaps for the folks to be able to turn right safely out onto College Parkway on the approach to Cape Coral. So we haven't reached back out. There's a process for that through the PDE phase that we'll be meeting with them again. But we just got the technical memorandums from the consultant a week ago, and so we'll be putting those on the website in the coming days.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? I know.
For alternative one.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know, they're looking for concurrence on alternative one. I don't see any reason why not to concur with that. And as far as the pedestrian bridge, it makes a lot of sense. I do think it'd be interesting to look at how much the cost would be. I know if you're talking commercial property, that taking would probably be pretty expensive, but, something more midway between the bridge and Del Prado. However, I don't know. I do understand the logic behind why you placed it where you did. And so I think I'm okay with the pedestrian bridge and alternative one. Okay. Everybody else? All shaking heads. Mr. County Manager, you need anything else on this one?
I think we're good. Thank you.
Okay, all right. We'll see everybody at the 5:05 budget.